Hi everyone, this is Ramanuj from Lawsico. Thank you for joining me. How are you guys doing? Who all have joined me? Where are you logging in from? What's your name? What do you do? Are you a lawyer, law student? Introduce yourselves in the chat, everyone. I also encourage all of you to share your LinkedIn profile links. It's a great idea. You should connect with other like-minded professionals here. Okay. So today we're going to talk about how to achieve fluency, right? As a lawyer, so some of you might have struggled with this, that how do I achieve fluency as a speaker of English language, right? And how do I think on my feet? Like it is one thing that, to speak some English, some, you may have some stocks and sentences that you are able to say. Some of the, maybe you can prepare a speech and deliver also, but to be able to actually speak extempore is not the same thing, right? To think on your feet and answer questions and engage in an argument, that requires a very different level of skill. And being a lawyer, exactly that is what is required. So we're going to talk about how to achieve fluency, thinking on your feet, and master articulation as a lawyer. So we are going to go deeper today into communication strategies, communication styles. We are going to talk about how can you maybe you're going to deliver your first speech. How can you do it? How can you engage better? How can you get better response from the talks that you deliver? Okay. So how many of you are excited about this? How many of you are ready for this? Hi Nilesh, hi Meher, Ashutosh, Fahad. How are you guys doing? Akshay. Superb. So let's get started, right? How are you guys doing? So success as a professional and definitely as a lawyer in India depends a great deal on speaking English fluently, right? So you all already know this, and we have been having a series of webinars and workshops. I started from having from 2nd of January. I've been talking about these things. We did a speed reading workshop even, and we have been talking about how to improve your English drastically, right? And why are we doing this? Because as a professional, especially as a lawyer in India, it's very hard to succeed unless you can fluently speak English. And how can you do that? Very often, as a lawyer, you need to think on your feet and speak. So, what is thinking on your feet? Like just without any preparation, being able to speak, give a talk, give a speech, give answers without preparation, right? So, that is thinking on your feet and speaking. So, can you think of some situations when a lawyer cannot really prepare and deliver a speech, but have to give an extempore speech, have to think on their feet and speak? Examples, anybody can give me any examples? For example, when uh, imagine that you are, and the judge is asking you a question and you are answering a question, right? Definitely, you'll have to think on your feet and answer. Any other examples you can think of? You're having a meeting with a client asks some questions. You cannot predict all the possible questions and prepare for each of them, right? Client may ask some questions and you may have to think on your feet and answer, and many such other examples, right? So I would just request everyone today that this is a small group of people. I see there are 24 of you here right now. You can interact. I would, while giving a presentation, great Srishti, I'll request everyone to actually use the chat box to interact. I'll be asking you a question. It's an interactive discussion, and you can interact, right? You can respond, you can answer, say yes, no. You can write your thoughts, you can write your questions, you can share your apprehensions, you can share your experience and stories from your life. So when I'll be telling you stories from my life, you can write the stories of your life in the chat. And even if you're watching this on YouTube, I welcome you to do exactly that, right? And if you're trying to improve your communication, you need to communicate more, you need to engage more, you need to speak more. Okay. For a while, I used to try to prepare a speech, memorize lines and deliver. How many of you have done this in your life, that when you are going, you're going to speak somewhere, you memorize your lines and try to go and deliver those lines? Have you ever done that? Has it happened to you? Hi Jagannath, how are you doing? Yeah. So how did it go when you tried to remember all the sentences and tried to deliver those lines? What happens? Did it go well? Yeah. It went well every time, Ramya? No? Okay. So sometimes it can actually even go well, but most of the times it doesn't go very well. Okay. It can work in a speech competition and you will be extremely nervous. You cannot communicate if you are memorizing and delivering a speech. It will be very mechanical, it will be very subpar, and still if you are going in a speech competition you might be able to do it. It can sometimes work in a mood competition to an extent. Most of the time to an extent it will work until people start asking you questions, right? But when people start interacting with you, talking with you, and ask you questions, they give their comments, that time you will not be able to just remember everything and speak, right? At that, and also the major risk, like Ayush is saying, that if you are trying to remember everything and speak, very high chances that you'll forget your lines and it will be a disaster. So it's not a great idea. So I'm going to give you an alternative. Okay, so you don't have to remember all your lines and go and speak anyway. If you do that, you will not improve as a speaker. I'll tell you how to improve as a speaker. Okay, so basically, while there is a lot you can prepare for, you can prepare. I'm not saying don't go prepared. I'm not saying go unprepared. But there will be always more where you cannot prepare. There's a lot of things for which you cannot prepare and ratify and go there and just deliver that, right? A lot of situations. So how do you deal with those situations? I'm going to teach you that today in today's 1 hour of webinar. I'm going to tell you and show you how to do that, right? So how to think on your feet and how to articulate yourself in such situations. Okay, so remember that if you are going to speak, okay, not why speak, even if you're tweeting or you're writing on Instagram or you're posting on LinkedIn, wherever, interaction and engagement is the holy grail. You want interaction, you want a lot of interaction. The more interaction, the more successful you will be. And it is exactly the same thing for when you are giving a talk. When you're talking, you want interaction. Some places are there where you can't interact, but interaction is the focus. If you can generate more interaction, it is a good thing. It is the goal that you should be having. Then I'll be very interactive, right? We all have childhood trauma about public speaking. This is something that I need to warn you about, right? We all have childhood trauma about public speaking. This has happened to us when we were children, that we started giving a public speaking, maybe in school, maybe in our locality, maybe in front of some other people, but basically before general public, not just family members. We tried to give a talk, or we tried to recite a poem, or we tried to do something and we forgot our lines, or something happened, people laughed at us, people ridiculed us, and somebody said something. This has happened to all of us. Okay, you will not find any person to whom this has not happened. I'll tell you my own story and you'll remember your story. So this was during Durga Puja. I'm a Bengali. Okay, so I was living near Calcutta in a place called Howrah, and in our locality there used to be a big Durga Puja. Okay, and in this Durga Puja, on the day of Saptami, okay, there would be this big recital competition. And I went for this competition. Whole day I memorized one poem by Rabindranath Tagore. I still remember it was called Darjeeling. Name of the poem was Darjeeling. I memorized the lines. There are barely 10, 12. I chose a short poem, which is not too long, 10, 12 lines. And I thought I will deliver this. Maybe I'll win a prize or not. I mean, at least I'll go deliver this, right? So I was called to deliver this poem, and I started reciting the poem. After third or fourth line, I forgot the rest of the lines, and then I was ashamed. I looked at everyone and I thought everyone is laughing at me. I don't think everyone was actually laughing at me, and I was very young, maybe like 10 years old, 9 years old, right? And I could not remember any more of the lines. I got off the stage ashamed, and I went and hid somewhere in the darkness. behind some, there was a lake there. There were some bushes there. I went and I was hiding there. I didn't want to go home. I was so ashamed. Okay. And I still remember the clothes I was wearing that day. I decided that these clothes are unlucky. I never wanted to wear them. And my mother used to try to force me to wear those clothes. And I'll be like, no, I don't know. I want to wear these clothes. These are unlucky clothes. But basically the point is that I was traumatized by this experience. And after that, I was afraid of public speaking. Now I am public speaking now. I am every day speaking in public. But, and I have faced bigger ridicules in my life by more people, right? But that childhood trauma for a long time prevented me from being free to speak publicly. Now, how many of you have the same experience that when you have had some, do you remember your story? Something happened to you and then you decided it's not a good idea to go and speak in public. Has this happened to you? Yeah, it happened to everyone. If you're not able to remember your story, that's a different thing. But it is a common human experience, happens with everyone. Okay. So this weighs heavy and we have to learn to overcome it, right? If you don't overcome it, you'll never be able to speak freely in public, because this trauma will kind of, you'll not be able, imagine you are dealing with the trauma when you are standing in front of people. How will you speak freely, right? So what do you have to do? Okay, you have to acknowledge the trauma and realize that we do not have to be limited by it anymore. Like, do you think, like what happened to me when I was 9 years old, okay, and I bombed it, that does that mean I'm a loser? Does that mean that I'll never be able to speak in public? Does that mean that I'll make the same mistake every time I go and speak? But for a long time it was like a part of my identity that I'm going to make such mistake again. It is better not to even try, right? So it happens. Does it happen or not? So it happens to you. It has happened with you also. But it is important that you don't let it become a part of your identity. So many of you are saying, Jagannath is saying first time in 8th class, right? Ayushi is saying school assembly speech, and everyone else also remembering their own stories. Jagannath in my high school. So it happened to everyone, right? But you cannot let this trauma, and you have to realize it's very ridiculous that something happened when you are very young, okay, and you are still carrying that memory and that trauma, and that is preventing you from being a successful public speaker. You don't want that. It is a very stupid thing, right? Do you agree it is stupid or not? Something happened when you are in school in assembly, somewhere in Durga Puja, something happened, and you are carrying the trauma of that, and it is preventing you from doing public speaking of that childhood experience, right? Do you want that to happen anymore? It is stupid. Like, you can overcome it. So, but you have to overcome this trauma, you have to heal this trauma so that you are not limited by it anymore, and then you can free yourself and think freely and speak powerfully even before the largest crowd. Okay, so you have to heal your trauma before you can move forward. So here are some techniques I have. So that is that I am just saying that this, what I'm going to tell now, is not about the trauma. Okay, I wanted to tell you this trauma, childhood trauma thing, because it is very important. You have to get over it. Otherwise, everything else I'll tell you will not be useful. Do you understand what I'm saying? Whatever I'm going to say now is going to be useful to you if you overcome this trauma. But once you recognize this trauma, you will be free from it. You can tell us right now in the chat what happened to you. Like Vidit is saying, this is the way to heal trauma. When you say it aloud, when you tell it to other people, you tell it to all your friends, then you will realize how ridiculous and how small that thing was that happened to you. It means nothing. It has no power over you anymore, right? For example, Vidit is telling his story himself, right? Vidit, are you okay if I say this out aloud? I see you have shared it only with panelists and not with everyone. Yeah. So Vidit is saying, randomly teacher used to choose children to speak in assembly. I used to never get chosen by teachers. One I got chosen, I fucked up. I formed an opinion about myself. I can't speak. Okay. So this is what happens with everyone. So you can see that not even one person. Is there anyone who doesn't have any childhood trauma like this? Anyone? Right? I don't have. Write in the chat. Right? Nobody's writing. Even if you have, if you think you don't have, it's probably you can't remember. Maybe it happened you forgot about it. That everyone has faced this public speaking trauma at some point as a child. Okay. Fahad is saying, I don't have. You don't remember, Fahad. Okay. So yeah, just try to remember. It's okay if you can't remember. Someday maybe you'll remember later. But once you remember, try to heal this trauma. It will go a long way. So here are some of the techniques I have successfully used to go from not being able to speak without preparation. Like if I prepared 5 lines, I'll be able to speak 5 lines and not more than that. Okay. You can't be a successful lawyer doing that. You can't be even a successful law student being that, right? So how, Fahad is saying that I was an introvert. I am an introvert. That's why I am an introvert. I was an extreme introvert when I was in school, right? I could not, in my head, I'll have a whole conversation. Somebody said something bad to me. I couldn't say anything to their face. I'll get very angry. And inside, I'll think about it all day. But I could not even give an answer to them on their face because I was such an introvert. I couldn't speak. I couldn't go and tell. But I had to overcome it, right? I had to overcome that extreme introvertness so that I can go and speak to people, so that I can come and speak to you, all of you, right? So introvert, doesn't mean anything, right? In being introvert doesn't mean that you can't speak. Okay, it has nothing to do with that. There is a trauma somewhere which prevents you from speaking. Some of the best speakers in the world are introverts. Doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm going to teach you those techniques. Okay, a bunch of techniques today I'm going to teach you. So number one is that don't give a speech, interact and engage. Okay, so very important. Do not just give a speech. How many of you, whenever you think of public speaking, you're thinking like giving a speech, right? I have to stand on a stage and speak. I have to stand in front of a lot of people and give a speech, right? How many of you are thinking like that? Write yes in the chat. That public speaking means going and speaking in front of people, giving a speech. Do you think like that? Yes, no, maybe? Okay, if you don't think like that, it's very good. But most people think like that. And I used to also think like this. Okay. So instead of giving a speech, it is very important that you have to interact and engage. Okay. Murthy is saying, forgotten while singing Bande Mataram at flag hoisting by my headmaster while was in 5th class. Yeah, correct. So all of these stories are there, right? So I wish to interact, but lack of confidence forces me to make it a structured speech, right? So giving a structured speech is very much difficult compared to engaging with people. Okay. Sure, lack of confidence will be a problem, but that is because there is a trauma in your mind already. So you have to get over that. You have to heal that trauma. So giving a speech is much harder than engaging in a conversation, right? When you're just talking to someone, it is much easier. So can you see that when I'm talking to you, I'm not giving a speech like, I'm not looking in the sky and talking, right? I'm talking to you guys and I'm asking you questions and asking you to respond, right? So I'm trying to engage with you. I'm trying to interact with you. Yeah, and you guys are responding on chat, right? So this is very, very important. So giving a speech is much harder than engaging in a conversation. But actually engagement is the best thing about public speaking. If you can engage, then you are very good at public speaking. You will see, even like say Modi ji, when he is giving a lecture, he will engage with the crowd, right? Even other good orators, anybody, you will see that they are engaging with the crowd, right? And they say, अच्छा ऐसा है कि नहीं, बोलिए आप बोलिए, and crowd will say हाँ, right? You have seen that, right? So people who are good orators, they are not just going and giving a speech in the air. They are actually interacting with the crowd in front of them, right? So I remember the first time I spoke before a large crowd in English. I'll tell you the situation, okay? So this was, I was doing some freelance work for IMS, and IMS had was starting its CLAT coaching, right? So they had planned one talk in a school where they said, okay, you had done good you are studying at NUJS. Why don't you come and give a talk over here about what you can do as a lawyer and just explain these things in this talk? So I said, okay, I will come. But I said, I am not confident. Okay, why don't you take my classmate And there's one more class. There's a classmate of mine, Kaushika. Now she's a lawyer in London. Okay, in Allen and Overy, in a London law firm. She practices. Very good speaker. So I said I will bring her. She's a good speaker, so she will speak. Okay. So Kaushika came and she gave a talk for 10 minutes. And by the way, IMS was offering me money to speak. So I said, no, I will not take the money. Give the money to Kaushika. I will bring her. And they said, okay, but at least you come there to the event and be present there. Okay, it will be good. So I said, okay, I'll come. So Kaushika gave a speech for 10 minutes and she was done. She's like, I have said whatever I wanted to say. I said, this is it. There are so many important things you didn't say. She said, but this is done. So I said, damn it. So I was not satisfied that there are so many other things to say. All these school students, I want to tell them so many other things. So I said, okay, I will speak, because I was not trying to give it as a speech, because I wanted those students to get those points. I could not let them finish this session without them getting those points. So I took the mic and I started talking to them. And I had a few questions. I said, how many of you want to be rich? How many of you want to be famous? And people started responding, I want to be famous. Okay, what is your dream career? What career do you want? Do you want to be an RJ? Why do you want to be an RJ? Do you want to be a film actor? Why do you want to be a film actor? Because, and people started saying, I want to be a film actor because this. And when I started asking questions and I started talking to them, I was not giving a speech, right? I was going in the middle of those people and asking, you tell me, what do you think you want to do? And I was a very bad speaker, guys. Okay. You think you are a bad speaker? I was probably worse than that. I used to make grammatical mistakes. I used to think in Bengali and then translate in English. Okay. Because I could not clearly say. But how difficult is it to go and ask these questions, right? Do you want to be rich? Why do you want to be rich? You can ask questions to people, right? So I did this. Okay. And people said something, I said something, and I thought it was horrible. Okay. But something happened. Okay, it happened and I stepped out. So it got done. Event is over. We're going home, and I was surprised that these people from IMS, they started appreciating me. Wow, you built such good rapport with the audience. I'm like, rapport with the audience? What are you talking about? I'm like, no, you are really good. I said, but Kaushika spoke so polished, so great. Say, yes, but you built rapport with the audience, and they really liked what you were talking about. Didn't you realize? And I said, oh, I can do public speaking. So I don't have to speak. I have to ask question to people. They will speak. And it is great public speaking. Wow. Now, not only that, then IMS told me that, why don't you do more such sessions? And they took me to more schools to talk. Okay. Then when IDIA started, IDIA used to send me to schools in different places, even in other states, to go and talk to children. And I could connect with the children. I could talk to them about their dreams. I could talk to them about their fears. I could talk to them about their worries. And I used to talk to them. I used to engage with them. I used to ask them questions and they used to tell me. And it did not matter. I went to Sikkim and did this. Sikkim. And I have never gone to Sikkim before. And there, those people, some of them did not know very good English also. I also don't know very good English in a government school. And I am still engaging with them. Right? Engagement is beyond even language, guys. If you think your language is the only thing for engagement, no. Right? So this was my first, experience of actually speaking before a large crowd. There were 300, 400 students sitting there, right? And the moment I started asking questions, I started engaging, everything in that room changed. Okay, and it changed for me also. You will take the pressure off or from you and from others even the moment you focus on engagement, rather than impressing people with how polished you are and how brilliant words you're using and all of that, right? You have to really stop that. Okay, that is why I used to find it very hard to do mooting initially. For many years I tried, it never worked. Debating, I could never manage to do it because I had to give a speech there. A lot of it is speech, but I love teaching. Why? Because I can add value to other people. I can teach them something. I can interact with them. And that is how I started developing my public speaking. So I made this point, how to overcome the fear of public speaking. Exact this same thing only, right? You have to heal your trauma, first of all. Second, you have to go out there, and I'm going to tell you about that also, how to get over the fumbling problem. I'm going to tell you about I have a specific technique for getting over the fumbling problem. Okay. So how many of you have the same experience, by the way, of, have you ever tried engaging rather than giving a speech and got a better result? Or have you always just tried to give a speech and never tried to engage? What is your experience? Tell me in the chat. All of you here, please tell me. Do you always only try to give a speech, or have you tried engaging? Or will you even try to engage in the future with people? Yes, no, maybe. Yeah. Okay. All right. Great. Second, very important question, taking forward from here. Okay. Ask questions. Let people speak. So Akshay is saying that I feel shy when I try to speak in English. Why do you feel shy? You know why do you feel shy? Because you think that when you speak English, it is not about communication. It is about impressing other people. If you are feeling shy, it is because you think I have to go and impress people by speaking English. And if I make a mistake, they will not get impressed. Then I have failed. No, that is not the goal of speaking in English. The goal of speaking in English is to communicate. They should understand what you're saying. You know, my cook, Sinay, okay, he has been working with us for a long time. There was a time when I used to run a restaurant in Goa. Okay. And Sinay Sinay used to cook there in the restaurant also. And there used to be a lot of foreigners in Goa who used to come to our restaurant. And Sinha used to talk to them. Now imagine the cook, he doesn't know English at all. He doesn't have gone to school much. I think he has gone for a few years only. Okay. But he was not afraid that the foreigners will laugh at him. There's no such context, right? They have to communicate that how do you like the food? Do you like it or not? Do you want to, they were just having basic conversation, right? And that way he learned to speak in English. Okay. And he's able to communicate with people, and he hasn't even gone to school properly, right? He hasn't finished high school, correct? So it is not about that. Being shy is only when you are trying to impress people with your brilliant English. That is when you feel shy. If you give up on that I don't have to impress anyone, okay, I just have to communicate, that will change. I have to make a point, I have to communicate, that's all. Ask questions, let people speak. This is a very important thing. Okay. A good speaker, a good communicator is not always speaking. A lot of time they're listening. A lot of times they're just getting other people to speak. So if you're a good speaker, if you're a good communicator, you are not always just speaking. You are able to get other people to speak. Okay. This is very, very important. Before I started doing solo webinars, I did a lot of interviews, by the way. How many of you have seen an hour with Losico, right? And even otherwise, I have done like lots and lots of interviews. Like I am doing solo webinars now every day, doing alone doing public speaking every day. Before that, I have interviewed people, hundreds of people, hundreds. Not talking about 10, 12, 15, 50. I'm talking about 300, 400 people I have interviewed. Okay. So when I start, and hundreds of them, so I used to fumble a lot myself. So somebody is saying that, I used to say they fumble. So I used to fumble a lot. Even if you see my initial an hour with Losico, you will see that I'm fumbling even while asking question. Forget giving a talk. Giving a talk to like this I used to speak, because I was not able to speak fluently. And even when I'm asking a question, forget giving an answer. Even while asking a question, I was to fumble a lot in the beginning, and then I'll be able to ask the question. Okay. And, I have had my aunt making fun of me, saying that, you speak like this. I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't care. Right. I fumble. I have no problem with that. But I will still succeed. And I was still succeeding. Right. But think of it this way. Okay. If you have, have you ever started a Have you ever started a pump? Like imagine that you have installed a bore well and you're pumping water out. First, what happens? What is the water you get in the beginning? Yeah, when you are, drilling a bore well for taking underground water, and you put a pump, and what comes out first? Muddy water, dirty water, right? Hundreds of liters of muddy water, dirty water. Yes or no? Okay. But if you keep pumping out the dirty water, then what will come eventually? What will come eventually? When all the dirty water, muddy water is pumped out, what comes after that? Clear water, pure water. Wow, right? So imagine, and this is, you have to get this in your head very clear, guys. Okay. Never forget this. You have a certain amount of dirty water, which is like fumbling in your English speaking or whatever speaking. There's a certain amount of fumbling you have to do in your life. It is your quota. Everyone was born with a certain amount of fumbling in their life, in their quota. Okay. Now you do all the fumbling. Okay. When you are done with all the fumbling, then you will speak clearly one day. Okay. The faster you get through all the fumbling, Fahad, listen to this. You are closing your tap of dirty water, not letting it come out. How will the clean water come? They have bullied me also. You're saying they bullied me calling you Shah Rukh Khan. You are lucky. They used to call me Shakti Kapoor. Beat that. When I was a little kid in my teenage in Howrah, in school, a lot of people in my area used to, like all other kids, used to bully me by calling me Shakti Kapoor. Okay, Shakti Kapoor is, if you don't know, is like a villain. Okay, doesn't matter. There are people who will still bully me if they get a chance. Okay, so that's not the point. The point is that do you want to get done with your fumbling? Do you want to get over with your dirty water and come with clean water? Yes or no, Fahad? Yes or no, or maybe. What is it, Fahad? Fahad Attarwala. The faster you get through that, the sooner you will speak clearly. Right? One way to make it easy to ask question and converse. Well, did I skip a point or something? One way to make it easy to ask questions and converse even when you are on a stage or delivering a lecture or presentation, okay, is this: you start asking questions, you start engaging. Okay, so when you don't know what to say, what do you do? Okay, it will happen. No matter what you do while speaking, sometimes such a point will come where you don't know what to say. Now, what used to happen to me when I would not know what to say? I will sweat, I will run away. Okay, I will not know what to do. I don't know what to say. I'll be so ashamed of myself. I'll be so mortified. I will start sweating. My legs will start shaking, and I'll want to run away from there and probably will run away. Okay, but that's not what to do. So this is what you should be doing. Okay, you can pause. You can take a pause and be comfortable with that uncomfortable whatever thing is going on. You can repeat, you can define the problem or ask for clarification. Now I'm going to elaborate on each of these things. Thinking on your feet does not mean you'll be able to give every answer or say exactly what has to be said. Do you get this? Right? Our brains are very powerful machines, but not also like that any moment you can just say whatever that has to be said. Sometimes you'll not be able to say what has to be said, and you can't remember the answer, or you cannot think of the right answer. You don't know what to say. A lot of people who are very self-conscious at that point will blurt out whatever comes to their mind. No. That's not what you do. Okay? You pause. You don't have to give the answer. Make it easy by giving yourself time. There are many ways to give yourself time. How do you give yourself time? Pausing is very important. Do you pause when you speak, or do you try to just keep speaking like a machine gun non-stop, blah 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 blah, like that you speak? Or do you take pauses? Okay, very important, take pauses. Even more important when you don't know what to say, you pause. Oh, I don't know what, I mean, let me think about that. And you think for 30 seconds, 1 minute, doesn't matter. I'm still thinking about that. That's a very interesting question. So this is one thing. Take a pause very comfortably. Taking a pause is a strategy. Taking a pause is the right thing to do. Do not think taking a pause is a bad thing. A lot of people judge themselves when they take a pause. You have to take a pause. Taking a pause is the smart thing to do. Okay. Okay. Now Vidit is saying, what if you can't figure out the answer even after thinking, right? So I'm going to tell you what to do. Okay. One is that when you pause, your brain works better on what has to be done, right? You give yourself pause. You focus your brain. You think about it, and there is a chance you'll know the answer. And what if you don't know the answer still? One thing you can do is you can repeat the question or the previous sentence. Sometimes if you lose the connection, you can repeat the previous sentence, you'll get the thread back. Similarly, a lot of time when I'm not able to reach the answer and I cannot think of an answer, I repeat the question once, twice, thrice. I repeat the question. I keep repeating the question. And then something comes to my mind. If it doesn't come to mind, I'll say I don't know. That's a good question, but I cannot think of the right answer right now. But by repeating the question, you're giving yourself another chance. No, not in your mind, loudly. You can repeat it loudly. Okay. Give me a situation. Ask me a difficult question. Somebody ask me a difficult question. I'll show you how I'll do it. Ask me a difficult question. Anybody ask me a question. Somebody ask me a question I don't know the answer of. Yeah, what is the problem? Prove how E is equal to MC square. This is the question Vidit has given me. Okay. Okay. Does Trump did well? Did Trump do well yesterday? Akshay is asking. Good question. What do you think about Kisan bill? Good question. Now people are asking me questions. Okay. What do I think about Kisan bill? That's a good question, Vishram. I mean, what do I think about the Kisan bill? That's a good question. I actually don't know much about the Kisan bill. So maybe it is not the right time for me to answer this question. But I'll tell you something else. See, I am speaking, right? Am I losing my nerves? Am I getting tense? No, nothing like that. Okay. Prove how to prove E equals to MC square. How to prove E equals to MC square. I mean, I know it's by Einstein, but how to prove it? I don't know actually. Okay. So whatever the question is, now I hope. Now Gautam Chopra is asking, what's my date of birth? Gautam, what's your date of birth? Do I know? What is Gautam's date of birth? I don't know. Okay, I repeated the questions twice, thrice. It doesn't matter, right? Do you guys think I'm a moron because I'm not able to answer the question, or because I'm repeating the questions twice, thrice? It might even actually give me time to think about it and answer, right? So you repeat the question or the previous sentence when you don't know what to say. It is a very powerful technique. It might not sound like that. If you ask a question repeatedly, a lot of times you'll be able to arrive at an answer or find a direction to talk. It's very important. If you don't know the answer, repeat the question. If you don't know the answer, especially, repeat the question at least twice. A lot of times, this will give you time to reflect and decide what you need to do next, whether you can arrive at the answer or deflect the question or ask a question back. Maybe you ask some clarification. Many things can be done in that scenario. Okay. But when you repeat a question or you stay silent and take a pause, repeat the question a couple of times. Okay. It will give you a natural conversation. It's not a bad thing. Another thing you can do is that somebody is asking you for a solution. Okay. Solution is that how can this Kisan farmer protest be solved? And you don't know the answer. How to solve this farmer protest? You don't know. You're asking, how do I solve the farmers protest? Okay, let me think. What is the problem right now? The government wants XYZ and the farmers want XYZ. This much I know. This much you know, this much everyone knows. So if there is going to be a solution, what is, I mean, this is the problem we are working with, right? Honestly, I don't know the solution, but this is the problem. Even if you say that you are able to work with the problem, right? How can you be stuck? Either you know the answer or you don't know the answer. One of the things you can do when you don't know the answer is define the problem. Sometimes it will help you to come to the answer. Sometimes it will not. Sometimes the person in front of you will start giving the answer when you define the problem. Engage, ask others to contribute. So if I don't know the answer how to solve this Kisan problem, farmer protest, I can say, guys, what do you think? The problem is that the reform is definitely needed. All economists in the world agree that there's a reform needed, but the farmers are saying that it is against them. But the government is saying that most farmers in the country are happy with this. Only in 2 states people have problem with this. So what do you think? How can it be solved? Can this be solved? What is your opinion? And you guys will start telling me something different. People will say different things, and a new conversation can start from there, right? So you can take this strategy also. You can ask people to clarify the question. Somebody asked you the question, you can ask them to clarify, right? Somebody is asking, Satish Bhandar is asking, what is your future goal? Now I can ask Satish, what do you mean by future goal? Future in the next 1 year, short term, or do you mean long term, in 10 years? Do you mean what I want to do in my spiritual life or my career, or what I want to do in my personal life? What do you mean by this question? When you are saying what is your future goal, goal about what? And I can ask this question. So I asked for a clarification. Now he'll have to give me an answer, right? So I am able to narrow down. I am able to think more. I may be able to give a better answer when I ask for a clarification. I can even ask for more information. I can ask him, so I understand you, I'll give you your answer, but can I ask you, what do you do, Satish? It will help me to get a context of, so that I can give you an answer in a way you understand. So Satish, what do you do? Where are you from? So now I'm asking for more information from Satish, right? So this is another way to engage. If you can see this is all different strategies to engage with the people. So even if you don't know the answer, if you don't know the solution to the problem, it doesn't mean that you have to keep quiet. It doesn't mean you have to run away. It doesn't mean that you can't contribute at all after that. Okay. So all of these will enable you to think on your feet. Thinking on your feet is not that always you'll be able to come up with the correct and brilliant answer. Sometimes it is admitting that you don't know, but engage. Ask the question, repeat the question, define the problem. Your brain is very powerful. Give it a chance. Do you know, even if you don't know the answer, if you just define the problem, if you just ask the question repeatedly, sometimes you'll be able to come up with an idea and actually answer something. And how to increase the likelihood of that, I will tell you in a slide later on. How to increase the likelihood that by asking the question repeatedly, how can you increase the likelihood? So I asked Satish Vandari, so he's also answering the question, right? But anyway, that is just an example, Satish. I don't want to actually engage in that conversation. I was just giving an example of how you can ask questions. When somebody is asking you a question, you can ask a question back. Okay. Now, a very, very important repeat, I have already told you, but repeating is not just to get time or to stall. Repeating is a very powerful way to make people understand what they are saying. So somebody comes and says that, I want you to vacate this house right now. Say landlord is coming and telling me. So I'll say, okay, so you want me to vacate this house right now? And he'll be like, no, right now means you can vacate till evening. So you want me to vacate it till the evening? You're like, yes. But you know what is happening here is that when I'm repeating the question, what he's saying to me, the absurdness of that also comes to him. Okay. It's a very powerful negotiation trick. Somebody comes and tells you something which is unreasonable. You can always recreate it and you can repeat it. Recreation is still different. You can repeat it to them. When you repeat it to them and say, yes, this is what you're saying, then they'll clarify and add more information to it. This is a very popular negotiation technique that even FBI uses while negotiating with terrorists, while interrogating criminals. They use this technique. Whatever they say, you repeat it back to them and say, is this what you're saying? And they will immediately clarify, add some more information, give you more information. This is how it works. Okay. Now, recreation is an even more important Very, very important concept. Okay. So imagine that I'm having a conversation and you have told me a bunch of things. Okay. You have told me a bunch of things that, for example, Satish has told me some things that if someone has passion for law, what should be his future plan in success, how much work done on that part, blah, blah, some questions he has asked. And I can ask him more questions. Are you a law student? Where are you from? And he said, I am from Mumbai pursuing LLB. And he tells me all this information, right? I asked him 5, 6, 7, 8 questions and he answers each of them. And I have got a lot of information, right? Now I will just not, now even for myself, I need to put all these different information together, and all the people who are hearing also, for them also, they, to get the whole picture, I need to, I mean, they have heard all the information, but I need to put the picture back together. So I'll say, okay, Satish is a LLB student from Mumbai and he's very passionate about law, and he wants to know, and he has this background and that background, whatever he has told me, all the information, and he wants to know how hard he has to work to succeed and what kind of future he should choose, how to choose the right career. This is his question. Now the whole thing is focused. Now I can answer Satish's question. Do you see what I'm trying to say? This is recreation. So I take all the information and I put it together and I create a picture. Okay. And when I create a picture, it has a huge impact on other people. Okay. Why is it important? Because people are very bad at remembering. You are thinking that they are comprehending what you're saying, but they are not comprehending. When you recreate, they get a chance to again understand what you're saying, and you're giving them another chance, and you're giving yourself another chance to understand the situation better. Okay. It is a very powerful tool for persuasion. So if you are ever talking to one of our people who are counseling, you will see that they are recreating with you. They'll tell you that, okay, this is your situation and this is what you're facing, and they'll recreate the situation that you're in so that you can imagine where you are. And when a lot of times people are themselves in big trouble, but they can't understand that they're in trouble. When you describe the whole picture to them, then they're like, I am in big trouble. So recreation is a powerful tool for persuasion that good speakers, especially people who are thinking on your feet, and you realize that this is very easy, right? All the information, they just gave it to you, you take it and you paint a picture for them. And it is a very powerful tool for persuasion. People will be amazed at how good a public speaker you are when you are doing this. This gives you the opportunity to focus your brain, imagine, put yourself in the shoes of another person and find the answer. So did you guys understand how to recreate? How many of you understood how to recreate? Yes, no, maybe. You understood? Did you understand why it is important to recreate? Okay. And this has nothing to do with, this is very impressive, by the way. When you do it with people, they'll be very impressed. They'll feel connected. They'll feel understood. And they'll be anyway impressed. But you don't have to do any rocket science. You don't have to be polished for doing this. Recreation is that, imagine you have a bunch of different information, right? You put it together to create a picture so that other people can understand the picture. Okay. And then you basically, by painting the picture, you're helping people to focus and understand the entire situation, get the context. Imagine, right? Other people who you are also putting yourself in the shoe of the other person, and the people who are listening can also put themselves in the shoes of that person. And then you can together find an answer, or your answer will jump to your mind. What to do? Prepare a few points on which you'll speak, but not every line. So it is a common mistake that when you are preparing for a speech, you are trying to prepare line by line. That I'll first speak this line, then I'll speak this clever line, then that clever line. How many of you do this? You guys said many of you that you do this, right? And this is a huge problem. You cannot prepare for a speech like that. But what you can prepare, you should definitely prepare, is that you prepare a few points. Okay. So if I am going to speak on, so you can see, like even today, this slide deck that is there, right? There are some points written here. The entire speech is not written here. I'm not reading from here, right? It just have some points. And I take the point and I speak about it. And now even in this, there is a lot of points written. Earlier I used to give speeches, there will be just the heading written, and I'll just look at the heading and I'll just speak about that, because I know what to say about that. But I don't need to prepare every line. I just need to have those pointers. That's all. So prepare a few points. Okay. So I'll show you. So you can prepare a deck, a slide deck. You can prepare flipping cards, pointers, cards. Okay. You can write down four or five points on a piece of paper on which you are going to speak, and that is enough. Right? You just have to write a few points. So for example, if I am going to give a speech on, I don't know, on democracy, I can decide, okay, these are the 4 questions which are very important about democracy, and I'm going to answer only these 4 questions. So I just need to remember these questions and in sequence. One, question 2. Okay, one question is that, is democracy important? Why is democracy important? Okay, that's it. Why is democracy important? 1 point. I'm going to talk about this. Second, I will talk about what are the alternatives to democracy. Okay. What are there any alternatives to democracy? So these are the alternatives to democracy that we have seen in the world. Third, is India a democracy? Let's say the third question is this. Is India a democracy? I'm going to talk about this. So these are the 3 questions I'm going to talk about, and that's it. Right? So you can write down 3, 4, 5 points, and you decide that I'm going to answer these 3 or 4 questions, and that's it. That's all. And this is my speech, and you can just give that talk, right? So it becomes much easier, and you don't have to, because you cannot memorize and deliver. It is a very bad idea. But you can remember these 4 points, and you can talk about each of those 4 or 5 points. This is a great idea. Another thing I'll do is that I'll use illustrations. So I have these three questions. So in every question, I'll decide that what examples will I give, what illustrations will I give. So I can write down that what are the first question, that what is a democracy, right? In that I will give an example of democracy in Athens in ancient Greece, and democracy in India, in small city states that happened in the ancient age, right? So I'll give these 2 examples, and I can decide. So I know when I'm talking about it, I'll give these 2 examples of democracies that flourished in the past, right? So like that, very simple, right? Use illustrations. And the next point is that, what are the alternatives of democracy? I can say, okay, there is theocracy, there is monarchy, there is blah, blah, blah. And I can say, okay, I have examples of each of these things also. So that is also another way. Use illustrations is a very good idea, right? So I can use stories from my own life. This is a very good thing actually to do. Try to use stories from your own life. How many of you are connected with me on LinkedIn? You'll see I write a lot of stories about my life, right? Even when I am talking in my webinars, I am using a lot of stories from my life. Do you not connect better when I tell stories from my life? Do you not understand it better, right? You get the context better, you get the point better when I tell my stories, and you start thinking of stories from your own life when I do that. Yes or no? Correct? So use stories from your life to deliver those points. This is a very good idea. Saying the same stories again and again will improve your delivery. This is also a very powerful thing. When you're the same stories of your life, you deliver again and again and again, it will improve your delivery. There's a story I tell very frequently about 2 different people I've said many times in my life about how I found my first client. And I have told this story many times. And I have improved that. If you say the same story again and again, every time you say it, you get a reaction from the audience. So you know how to say it better. Every time you improve how to say it better, how to say it better. And if you have said the same story 50 times, then the first time the way you said it and the 50th time when you are saying the same story will become better. And you will be able to use this story in many different contexts. So you will become a better public speaker by saying the same story again and again. It's a very good idea. Don't think that saying the same story again and again is not good. Okay. Silence speaks. Remember this. Okay. How many of you tell stories from your life when you're doing public speaking? Will you do it? Do you already do it? Tell me in the chat quickly. Do you see benefit of speaking your own stories while you are doing public speaking? Yes, no, maybe. I want to tell you something, okay? When you tell your own stories, it will be authentic. It will make a very powerful point. People will be able to connect. If you take one thing from today's whole session, learn to tell your own stories or learn to tell other stories also, no problem. Story you have read somewhere, story of another person you know. Okay? People will relate better. Your public speaking will become much better. Your shyness will go away. You will become more free. Okay, it will be much better. Okay, silence is an important part of speaking. This is very important to understand. A lot of people are not comfortable with silence at all. Okay, do you get what I'm saying? Okay, silence is not a bad thing. Silence is sometimes a good thing, right? If I be silent, I'll be silent for the next 30 seconds. See what happens. What happened? Anything happened? I was silent. Did any of you run away? Did you think this is stupid? Did anything happen? But something was going on in your head. You were thinking about what I said earlier. You were thinking about what I was doing, right? So silence even increases engagement. Silence is not a bad thing in a talk. When you're giving a talk, a lot of people are very afraid of being silent. They're like, I don't know what to say. Now I will die. Now people will judge me. Something bad will happen. Nothing will happen. Somebody was thinking what I was drinking. I'm just drinking tea, guys. Nothing much. Like black tea with lemon. Right? Silence is absolutely fine. There is nothing wrong. And you can be authentic. And I want to tell a story. Hi, Vismita. So I want to tell you a story. Okay. So there is this lawyer who's very famous in USA. And he never lost a criminal case and lost a civil case like for 30, 40 years. He never lost a civil case. And he was even the Attorney General of United States. Okay. Gary Spence. And this guy has written a book also. It's called How to Argue and Win Every Time. If you're a lawyer, you should read this book. Okay. And he tells a story in this book in one of his life's most important arguments, criminal matter, and the Attorney General of United States is arguing against him. And he's a defense counsel. Okay. How to Argue and Win Every Time. This is the name of the book. And he's arguing there. You know what happens? And he's a famous lawyer already. Okay. And he goes up to speak and he fumbles and he hesitates and he's shaken, like he's not able to deliver. For the first 2 minutes, he's not very polished. And then slowly he gets into the groove and then he delivers a great speech and great performance as a lawyer before the jury, right? Jury trial. But for the first 2 minutes, he was really bad. And he's done. He sits down. He asks his junior, how was it? Junior says, sir, very good. But in the beginning, you were fumbling and you were not your original self, normally how you are. And he says, you know what? That is why I will win this case. Why will you win this case? Because he was fumbling before the jury for the first 2 minutes? What is the connection? Can you guys guess? Tell me, what was the reason? Can you tell me? Can you guess? Feels genuine. Vidit is saying. Okay. Drawing on PT. There is no PT. There is genuine human connection. You need to see the person in front of you is actually a human being and authentic. He's not pretending. He's being himself. He's not just a polished lawyer. Really, like what idea people have about lawyers, right? That lawyers are like smooth talkers, liar, like devil's advocate. Not like that. This is a real human being in front of you. He fumbles. It's not a bad thing, right? You don't have to be super polished to be successful. You don't have to be really polished speaker to win a case. It's fumbling is natural. People, it's not drawing on PT. It's like there's no PT involved here in here. It's natural. You are natural. You are not artificial. When you see someone very artificial, you might be impressed. You might clap. But do you feel something for them? No. You don't feel any connection if you see an artificial person. You say, artificial. Right? So it's great to be authentic, and there's nothing wrong with fumbling. There's nothing wrong with making a mistake. There's nothing wrong with even making grammatical mistakes. I mean, there is. You don't want to make mistakes all the time. But to making one-off mistakes doesn't mean anything. It gives also, when you are silent, it gives the other person an opportunity to chime in. If you are a smart negotiator, you'll use silence. Sometimes you'll say something and just keep quiet so that the other person joins and says something, right? Okay, imagine I tell Vaibhav, are you feeling tired? If I keep talking, he will not give that answer. But if I keep shut, Vaibhav, are you tired? Right? So if I keep quiet, he'll give answer. And he said, no, sir. And I keep quiet still. He'll clarify. He'll say more about it. So being silent is not a bad thing. It gives an opportunity to the other person to chime in. If you are not nervous, you'll be able to use it smartly. The problem is when you get nervous about silence, when you hate silence, you'll not be able to do this. Sometimes it adds significance to a point. I said point and I stopped. There is silence. It adds significance. Attracts attention. Right, Satish? Right? Being perfect is not important. If you think being perfect is very important in your speech, please get rid of that notion. It is junk. It is bullshit. It's nothing relevant. Allowing it to sink in, yes. But you don't have to be perfect in your speech at all. You have to communicate, yes. You have to engage, yes. You have to make sense, yes. People have to be able to understand what you're saying, yes. Definitely. But being perfect is not necessary. And sometimes when you keep quiet, you compel the other person to volunteer information. Very, very important. All salespeople know this. All negotiators know this. Sometimes you keep silent, make it uncomfortable for the other person so that they volunteer information. Another very important skill when you don't know what to say or what to do, you're thinking on your feet, is to summarize what has been said so far. This is also one way of recreation. In recreation, you're recreating a situation. You're recreating a painting. You're recreating what happened. But sometimes you just summarize the point, all the points that others have made or you have made so far. It's a very important thing to do, by the way. By doing it, you will elevate the quality of your speech. You can even summarize what others have said so far. Okay. You can play the role of a mediator or a moderator by summarizing. Okay, so this is what you are saying and this is what you are saying, right? Am I right? Okay. You're being a moderator and you're being a mediator. Very, very important. Delivery needs to be practiced, guys. Okay. All said and done. I'm not saying you have to be perfect, but delivery needs to be practiced. You can practice your delivery, right? I get to practice my delivery every single day when I come and do this webinar with you guys. But there is something called mirror work, which is very, very powerful. You can stand in front of a mirror and speak. Okay. It is a very powerful thing. You try doing it. Try standing in front of a mirror and giving a talk to yourself, or you can talk about any random thing, doesn't matter. But when standing in front of you face to face with yourself in a mirror and talking is a very powerful psychological tool. It's a very powerful brain training tool. You should do this. Like, it is a training for leaders. Okay, I mean, many top organizations, one of the training that you have to do for yourself is called mirror work. Toastmasters is an organization where there are courses where you can practice delivery. And delivery is not everything about speech. Okay, there is so much about public speaking more than delivery. but Toastmaster teaches delivery. And you can do courses from Toastmasters. Not a bad idea. Your delivery will improve. I find a very powerful way is to YouTube videos. Okay, you record YouTube videos of yourself and then watch them. When you watch your own video, you will learn a lot about your speaking style, about the mistakes you make, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses. If you just watch yourself speak in a video, you learn a lot. Mirror work is one level. Even better, next level is watching your own videos. Very, very powerful. Any of you have ever tried this, watching your own videos? Google Toastmasters later, whatever. Okay. Any of you ever watch your own videos? Record your own video and watch it later. When you are speaking, find your mistakes, everything. Have you ever done it? Have you ever even tried it? Anyone? You must try. Ragini Ranjan has tried many times. So how did it help you, Ragini, in any way? Nisha, did it help you in any way since you have tried this? It helped a lot for Ragini, right? How did it help? Can you describe more? How did it help? Chanukya, you have tried. How did it help? Can you please share in the chat? I request you. Okay. I realized how I sound to the audience or to the people listening to me. You know, your brain is very smart. If you just watch yourself speaking and you don't have to fix it, you have to fix nothing. You just watch yourself speaking. Subconsciously, your brain will readjust itself and become better. It's incredible how fast it will happen. You won't even know. It will like magic. It will be like magic. Just by watching yourself speak for a few days and regularly speaking, your brain will adjust and you will become a better and better speaker day by day. Another very, very important thing to do, guys, if you want to be a good speaker, you have to be a prolific reader. You have to read a lot. I don't know what you will read, but the more you read, the more substance you will have when you are talking. Okay, confidence increases. All the people who have confidence problem, do mirror work or record your video and speak. You will develop confidence. Make all the mistakes, all your dirty water, let it flow out in front of the mirror or in record your own video and watch, and you'll improve. It's a brilliant strategy. I never did this myself. I do it in the way that I'm doing webinars already. I didn't do it earlier when I was not good at speaking, but I wish I did. I would have learned much faster. Okay. Read extensively. The more you read, better speaker you will be. Okay. When you are recreating, when you are asking yourself the question, oh, so how can we solve this thing or whatever? Like, what is the answer to you? Repeat the question. Answers will pop up in your mind. But the quality of the answer that pops up depends on how much you have read, how much you know, how much you have read. If you have read a lot of interesting things will pop up in your mind, which won't if you have not read much, which is why I recommend reading extensively if you want to be a good public speaker. Prepare what ifs. You can prepare what if scenarios, right? This is done by lawyers when they're going to negotiate all the time. If you are going to negotiate with other lawyers, you try to imagine what the other side will say. So I will say that, no, I don't want to give you this indemnity. What will the other side say? What will be their argument? Okay, if they argue this, I will argue that. Same thing when you're preparing for a case, you think of all the what if scenarios. If I argue, my lord, this person is eligible for bail because of this reasons, the other side will say, no, he should not be she should not be given bail because of XYZ reasons. Then I need to have an answer ready. If I can predict they will say XYZ, then I can decide what I can say in response. So prepare what ifs, and you can do this. If I go and deliver this talk, people will ask me questions about this, and you can predict. Like I could predict that people will talk about, but I fumble, but I don't have confidence. I know you'll say this, right? So I came prepared. I know that you're going to ask me these questions. These are the objections you will raise. I know it was predictable. So I prepared for it. So when you are preparing, You need to think that when I say this, other people will think this. They will say this. They will object this way. They will raise this question. How will I handle it? So you can create a bunch of what. When you are preparing these what ifs. And if you can prepare what ifs, you might start incorporating them in your original speech itself. Before they ask, you might make it a part of your talk already. Or when they ask that question, you will say, let me finish your question. Finish. Okay, ready? Done. I am glad you asked this question. Let me tell you. And you will start, right? And this, have you seen like speakers saying, I am glad you asked me this question. They are basically prepared for that question. So somebody asked, they are glad. Okay, you get this point? Great. Be comfortable with failure and criticism. You cannot be a good public speaker if you are uncomfortable with failure. If you are uncomfortable with people criticizing you, people will criticize you. Okay, especially we live in a world where people will, and you are doing no, you sit at home, be nobody, be a faceless troll on social media, nobody will criticize you, right? But you start doing something, you stand up and say something important, you start doing something important, there will be 1,000 people who will criticize you. Knowingly, unknowingly, instinctively, they will criticize you. They will try to size you, cut you down to size. They will try that. They will be like, ये बहुत उड़ रहा है, इसको थोड़ा down करते हैं, right? This is the habit of people. Okay, this will happen to you. If you are doing public speaking, means you are going towards leadership. You are influencing people. You are impacting people. You are creating something. Do you think there won't be people around you who will not try to cut you down to size? Yes, no, maybe. What do you think? What will happen? Will it happen or not? Nobody's saying anything? Did I say something wrong? Have you not experienced this in your life? What do you think? Tell me. It will happen. Right, Nisha? It will happen. So if you are going to be, you know that this is going to happen, you can predict it, then you have to be comfortable with that. You can still grow. That cannot stop you. That has nothing on you. The more successful you will be, the more criticism you will face. More people will say bullshit about it. That doesn't mean anything. Okay. Okay. Any questions, guys? Any questions I can answer for you? Okay. Post your questions in the chat and I'll take up those questions. Okay. Keep posting your questions. Whatever comes to your mind right now. You have processed all this information. I know there's a lot to take probably. Many of these concepts you're hearing for the first time. No problem. All your questions post in chat and I will answer. Even those people who are watching this on YouTube, post your questions in chat. I also want you to think about this. What are you taking away from this talk? What are you going to implement? It is not enough that you heard a bunch of stuff, me talking, whatever, word salad. It's not going to help you. You have to go and implement. Even if you go implement 1 or 2 or 3 of these things, it will make a difference, right? So what are you going to implement? What 1 or 2 or 3 things you're going to implement? Write down in the chat. And I would also request you write about this on social media, on Twitter, LinkedIn, tag me, tag Lawsico, spread the word about what we are doing. Every day at 9 p.m. I'm doing this webinars like this. I hope you join tomorrow again. I have another thing related to English speaking and related to public speaking again tomorrow, right? You can go to lawsico.com/webinars and you can register there. I'll show you 1 second. Right here, you can register for this way. One is there's a workshop I have, how to write and publish articles to boost your legal career. So speaking is one part, the other part is writing legal articles, and publishing can change your legal career. So you can go and register here, guys, right? This is the workshop. You can come and register here. And I have a request. Please share this with your friends. Please share this link with your friends. Invite them to register as well. Right? Can I ask you to do that? How many of you will register your friends and classmates and other people who need this to register for tomorrow's workshop? How to write and publish articles to boost your legal careers. right? Tomorrow 6 to 9 p.m., 3-hour workshop, right? So I have written, you can read this page at leisure, right? I look forward to you being there. In this, I'll show you how to write articles, how to publish. So how many want to be? How many of you want to be there? Yes. How? Just write yes in the chat if you're going to be there tomorrow. Already registered. Great, great, superb. That'll be great to have all of you. Right. Here is one more webinar I am going to do on English. How to go from broken English, speaking broken English to flawless speech in 1 year. I'm going to show you step by step how we do it at LawSeco for our course students and how you can do it as well, right? That'll be awesome, right? So you can register for this as well. There is one more way we can help you, I must tell you. So we have a course at LawSeco on English communication for lawyers. It's a diploma course, 1 year diploma course on oratory, writing, listening, and accuracy, right? Diploma in English communication for lawyers, legal English communication. So you can check out this course, guys. I don't want to spend too much time explaining this, but I invite you to visit this page, check this out for yourself. It will be awesome. Okay, now let's answer questions, I think. Okay, one more thing before I start answering questions is that how many of you want to stay in touch with me? Are you on touch with me on Twitter already? Are you connected with me on Twitter already? This is my Twitter profile. Okay, if you are not connected with me on Twitter, please connect. You can even send me direct messages on Twitter. Okay, so please connect. If you are not on Twitter, I will urge you, please join Twitter. It's the best platform for law students to connect with potential employers, recruiters, everyone. So it's really great. I strongly recommend that you join Twitter. It will take you 2 minutes to create a profile. So just go ahead and do that. Okay. Now let me answer questions. So what were the questions, guys? What are the questions you wanted to ask me? Let's answer those questions. What are the questions you want me to answer? Let me check up there. What will I do when I fail to collect words because of lack of vocabulary? Is by hearting words enable to speak? No. If you remember words by heart, it will not enable you to speak. Because I also did that. Okay, I remembered, I marked up an entire Webster Collegiate Dictionary, and it still did not help me to actually speak better. I thought, like you, that if I read big, make a big vocabulary, remember, memorize a lot of words, I'll be able to speak better. That never happened. Okay, it does not happen like that. For that, you have to, I have done more workshops, right? You know how to, you can do this. You can watch a movie, the whole movie you watch once, and maybe a movie with a lot of dialogues. Don't watch an action movie where just action is happening with a lot of dialogues. Then you, once after you watch it once, second time you watch, you pause on every dialogue and deliver. Pause on every dialogue and deliver. Like you say the words, they say the sentence, whatever they're saying, the dialogue, you say it yourself. Okay, this is one way. This is a very powerful way to do this. Okay, so you can practice speaking this way, it will help you. What are the other questions? Can you repost your question? I can't find your question. What to do if you are caught in a situation in the court where you are unable to counter an argument of the opposite party or unable to distinguish a judgment that they cited? This is a problem, guys, right? This happens. I mean, court is such a situation that you have to go prepared. If you are not prepared, I mean, then you just get that moment to do it, right? And you have to prepare. So again, you can use all the techniques I told you today. You can ask for clarification. You can say, what does the judgment say? Does it say this or does it say that? And when you ask that question, they'll have to respond, right? And when they're trying to respond, you will be able to gauge what is actually going on. And if you are not able to counter an argument, it is because you have not done the what if preparation. Your preparation was lacking. So You have to think of all the what if there's a judgment against you, you need to know it before you are facing it in the court. If they're going to cite it, you need to know it before you went to court. So the court is actually one of the rare situations. In a webinar, this will not happen. In a public speech, this will not happen, right? But you have to, when you are arguing in the court, you get very less time. But there is a high chance if they're going to use a case, then they would have cited it in their written statement or somewhere in their submissions, in written submissions also, right? So that's also an important aspect. But if you're going to argue a matter, you better know all the case law related to it. So that is a part of your preparation. You have to preempt. That's right, Bhagav. Sukriti, I am in a rut and I can't find essay topics to write about. My broad topic is company law, but I don't know what to write in my thesis. Can you please help me? So, if you want to find a topic, one way to find a topic is to think what is very useful to other people, right? So think of an audience. Who are the people who need to know about company law, right? There are company lawyers, there are judges, there are directors of companies, owners of companies, shareholders of companies. So there are people for whom this law matters, right? So how are you going? What is a question that is a burning question for them at this moment? Is there something that is a burning question for them? Something that has really become very important in the last 6 months or last 1 year or last 3 years? So you deal with that. Deal with something which is really important. Deal with something which is which matters to you. Maybe there is something about company law that matters to you, right? Maybe there's a company that did something wrong with people you know or to you, and you can think that I really care about this subject. So always pick subjects, always pick topics for which you deeply care, and that will never fail you. You'll be able to do very well if you take topics and subjects that you deeply care about. Does this help you, Sukriti, or do you have a follow-up question? I'm not doing LLB very sincerely, Akshay is saying, because of two reasons. First, I don't know what I want to do, and second is Corona. This is my last year. What you can say, is it good for me to practice? Akshay, you have to decide what is important to you. Why do you want to practice? Do you want to practice for money? Do you want to practice for some other reason? Do you want to practice because you don't know what else to do? What is the scenario? What do you value in life? Where do you want to be 5 years down the line? It's a longer conversation. You need to think about these things, right? Why are you not doing LLB sincerely? Is it because law doesn't interest you? Maybe you're doing law because under somebody's pressure and you don't really care about it. There are multiple things. So maybe you can have a conversation with someone who can guide you. You need to have a detailed conversation about why. Why is very important. Why do you want to do it? Why do you not want to do it seriously? Why are you already not doing it seriously? Why do you even consider? Why are you even considering practice? What are your other options? You need to consider all of that very seriously. One can look at subject index of a company law book, select a topic that is contextual or interesting. Sure, one can do that. It will be a boring way to do it though. Okay, are there any other questions I have missed? Okay, there's a question. I have a little bit of stammering problem due to which I got scared that I won't be able to speak and create the fiasco. How to overcome this problem? I know how to speak but scared. I have seen people overcoming stammering. Stammering is a mental block. There are people who can teach you how to overcome stammering. There are people, I have seen people getting over stammering in 10 minutes. Okay, stammering can be fixed, can be cured. You just have to know how and who can do it. Study more about stammering, you will find out a solution. As for being scared, the solution is recording yourself in video. Give a talk, record yourself, watch it. Give a talk, record yourself, watch it. Give a talk, record yourself, watch it. Do this 100 times, and then let's see if you are still afraid. You will not remain afraid after that. Your hesitation will go away. Your brain will get used to this. Then you start recording YouTube videos, put up on YouTube. Do that. Then there will be a time when you will be comfortable going and speaking in a stage also, or in front of a group of people also. Okay. I hope whoever anonymous person asked this question, your question got answered. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for being here. It's 10:30. Let's wrap up. Thank you, everyone. Nani Palkiola was stammering as a child. I was stammering as a child, by the way. I was stammering as a child. I was stammering in my teenage. I don't know how and when I stopped stammering, but at some point I stopped stammering. But I have seen people who were stammering as an adult and they were able to stop stammering by following certain coaching. I can't do that here in this session. Okay. So, guys, we have a great, awesome English course. Join it. Let's kill it. Join that course. It's really amazing. You're going to love it. Thank you for being there. And see you tomorrow's workshop. The English course admission is on the legal English communication. It's an unparalleled course. If you like this webinar, you're going to absolutely love, and you'll find that course life changing. And we have a 1 month money back guarantee. For 30 days you can try it out. If you don't like, you can get your money back. Just Google legal English communication LawSikho. You'll find the course. I've shared the link earlier also in the chat. You can scroll up and see it. Okay. So if you're struggling to argue in court, you're struggling to make your English accurate, if you're making mistakes, you can fix all of that. We can help you. Okay. All the best. Take care. Bye bye.